Welcome everyone in this new and final video on Figma. Today we conclude our site, create interactions, especially with interactive components and component properties. First, we finally move on to see how to characterize our header. Let's start by bringing out the rectangle and put, for example, always our brand name in the top left corner. And then let's create another rectangle, just a line, no fill, which will be the search bar, giving it some rounding at the edges. And let's look for now a magnify icon. I'm now using the Iconify plugin, for example, and we put it here. And then we type search and put it here in the center. The effect that I want to achieve is that when you click on search, it will go up above in an opening of the rectangle, and then the text cursor will appear. That is the typical intermittent bar for typing. So for all of these, we will be helped by the interactive components and variants. With the selection active, we click on here to make our header a component, after which we click on the plus to create a variant of the moment we are going to click to choose. To break the stroke, we had to click twice and thus enter editor mode, or also by clicking above here, and with the pen tool, create two dots about this distance, straight above the search text, and then erase it from the keyboard to delete the piece in the middle. At this point, we move the text up here. We connect the two variants with an interaction from prototype mode. More precisely, we put the hotspot right on the search text and the destination on the whole bar. We put on click as input, change to, which is used precisely for variants, and smart animation with is out, for example, with 800 milliseconds. Then we create an opposite animation with the mouse leave option instead. From the old frame, we add some delay though, so it doesn't happen too instantaneously, so maybe 400 milliseconds. Well, now let's generate an instance with Alt and then drag it, see if we like the effect from the preview. Now we need to add the text cursor, and how do we make it blink? We need to create another set of components. So in a text box, we put slash, the straight slash that you find in your keyboard usually, along with the slanted slash, and make it a component. Then we create a variant and simply make it transparent by bringing the opacity to 0%. In prototype mode, we connect the two variants together, change to, after delay, with a delay of 200 milliseconds, more or less, and we always choose Smart Animate. This time is in and out. Well, let's add an instance to the second instance of the whole header component, and then let's preview the results again. We're just missing the two elements here on the right, login and blog, which are two buttons, one with an outline and one not. We already worked with buttons in the components lesson, so let's go pretty fast. We have to create components, this time in the workspace as well, so we write login and then give the auto layout command Shift+A and give a fill of the color we want. Also change the text color to white, give some kind of radius, and then make our button a component from here. We add a second variant that we rename hover, and that precisely we're going to use for when the mouse cursor is hovering about the button, and we're going to assign it slightly lighter color. While to the third variant pressed, then we assign an even darker color than the first button. Then we link everything in the prototype section, the first one to the second one, with the options change to while hovering and instant, the second one to the third one, with the options change to while pressing this time, and instant. Then the third one should be linked to the login page, where we enter all the information to log in or to create an account. For this example, we simply create an empty frame and link the third variant to the frame, this time with navigate to and on click. We put an instance in our bar and run the prototype. Well, we can also do the same with the blog button, again playing with the colors of the text itself, this time not a rectangle button. Then we add an instance of it too inside the bar if we want to adjust it also with the auto layout, and now our header is ready. The same process, of course, we can do it with the shop button, so create a normal variant one for hover and one for pressed. And then connect the pressed with on-click to the page with all the products. Of course, this is an example, mainly for demonstrations, demonstration purposes, so I always put the same image to represent different products. So let's see how this screen is composed and what interactions we can create within it. We will always have the header taken and pasted in the same place. Then we have all the products inside boxes with the name, the price, or the smallest size, because then for each product there will be a small weight, a medium weight, and a large weight. Then there can be rating stars, for example, or similar. To make boxes that change when you hover on them, as before, we have to make a component outside, so a box given by a rounded rectangle at the edges with this color and maybe an internal stroke on a reduced opacity. However, the style of a site also lies in the choices of interactions we make. We make it a component and create a dark variant. We can also rename the variants as usual. And at this point, we set as an interaction to go from the first to the second, always while hovering, and then we make all instances for each product. And each of these instances will have to be linked with on-click and navigate to the screen of the related product. So we link the first to the next page, that is the coffee page. Then if we want to give the possibility to go back, we have to write and build the back button, so with an icon or even with the text back. I choose both and I arrange them with the auto layout also to make it one element, from which I then started in the product area an arrow that will go precisely to the previous screen. In this way, navigate to, on-click, and instant. Let's come back here now and go therefore to this last screen before we see how to make this circular spice carousel, which is a slightly longer process. In this last product screen, in this case of coffee, we always have to go ahead and use a component of box, this time smaller, to make people choose the size of the bag of coffee to order. We can use the same as before because basically the interaction is different. Whereas before we linked the first variant to the second one through while pressing to give the perception that we were pressing the right thing to be redirected, this time it has to stay selected to understand that we are buying that size. So let's connect with on-click and do the reverse, always with on-click, we unselect. Let's quickly see the preview, and here we go. Finally, here we have a heart to add the product to favorites. However, unfortunately, to make an add to favorites animation in the correct way, actually, you will need the options that only come under the paid plan, variables, or conditional, which we glimpsed a few videos ago. To interchange instances of instances swap, we tried to do it anyway, simply creating another component where we had two variations, an empty heart and a full heart. We search on Iconify, for example, an empty heart icon and one identical in style but full. We link them together with change to and on-click and smart animation. We can put spring bouncy or gentle acceleration to give more dynamicity. Finally, we go and put an instance up here and test it. Now we have this counter here at the bottom that allows you to choose the quantities of the coffee packs. Again, we still have to resort to components to make it, even though there would be a more correct and quicker way with the variables and conditional options, because there is the ability to manage the quantities through macro series, the amounts. However, we can do it quite quickly even in this way. We create two ellipses and then insert plus and minus icon always from a plugin, or we simply create them ourselves with lines, with thickness, color we decide, and then round the ends slightly. We merge the two cross dashes of plus with the right click and group selection option. After that, we put a 0 of the color, size, and typeface we like. Now we can create a variant to which, however, we change the number to 1 and so on, up to the number you wish to be the maximum. I, for example, chose 5. At this point, we have to link the various instances together. So the plus, we had to link them to the next number. From here to 1, from the plus of 1 to 2, from the plus here to 3, and so on. Now let's go back instead with the minus. So same process, the minus of 5 linked to 4, the minus of 4 linked to 3, and so on. Let's open now the preview to check, and there you go. Well, now we have concluded these screens. Let's see how to create the animation in the home screen. Actually, the process is basically the same as we did just now for the counter. We have these 6 counter-weight spice spoons and 2 chevron icons on either side, as well as an arbitrary place symbol icon in the center. First, let's create the chevrons, and we can make them directly with the pen tool. So we click on a point and hold down the shift key, so it will make an angle exactly 45 degrees, and we click and then re-click at the time when we see this guideline, with this red guideline. Okay, now let's give it a little bit of thickness, and let's go change the superscripts by putting the apex round and change the color as well. Then with Alt pressed, we copied it and then mirrored it horizontally by pressing the right key and selecting here, so horizontal. I previously arranged all 6 elements 60 degrees apart precisely with Illustrator, but you can also do it with FIGMA with a little patience. Otherwise, with only 4 elements, the slider also comes easier to structure in the design part. I have also previously inserted all the spice names oriented as the spoons themselves, and now we select all the elements, including the text, and by right-clicking, we turn all these into a group by clicking on Group Selection. Now we need to make all the spice names invisible except the one corresponding to the spice at 12 o'clock. So we lower all the opacities to 0. Now let's make a copy of this frame with Alt pressed and first rotate it 60 degrees. Then arrange the element in the center. This, unfortunately, we will have to do it every time. Now we have to make the name that moves with its spoon in the top center visible and make the one from before invisible. And so we will have to do for all 6 steps, rotating 60 degrees each time, making that label visible and the previous one invisible. The mental process is much simpler than it may seem. Now all we have to do is to take all 6 frames and click on this component on the component set icon, but on the arrow here, that opens the little panel where we select Create Component Set. In this way, there is a single component with all the 6 frames inside, which in turn have become component. Now it's finally time to prototype, so in component number 1, we take chevron that goes to the right and move to the prototype section and connect it to frame 2 with unclick and change to Smart Animation Easy. Then again, with the same settings that will come in automatically, the rightward chevron of 2, we connect it to the frame 3, and so on. The right chevron of frame 6, we have to connect it to frame 1 to close the loop. Well, now we're also going to handle the chevron going backwards, so the one from frame 1 goes to frame 6, the one from frame 6 goes to frame 5, and so backwards. We're done basically. Now let's create an instance of our slider, of our animation, and put it on the home page of our site. Let's go and see a preview. So let's click play, and this is the result. Let's try a full spin and see if there's no problem. Finally, let's focus again for a moment now on the app version of our site, and let's see how to create our navigation bar down here by taking advantage of the skills that we acquired always on components, as we've done up to now, but with the addition of component properties. Let's analyze the situation. We have 4 icons with their respective text, although actually text is a redundancy in these cases for design. We add it mostly for practice. We need to create a navigation bar that allows us to move from one selection of the menu to another. So the first thing we need to do is to search for the icons, always with Iconify or another plugin. One of the home, one of a shopping cart or a shopping basket. Then I'll look for the typical bell, for alerts, and the profile icon. Let's find them all in the same style and then adjust the size from here. I remind you to activate the paperclip from here that binds height and width while maintaining proportions. Finally, let's rename the icons however we like And now we can make each of these icons a component of their own by selecting them all together and then going up here and clicking on Create Multiple Components. And from here, we can align and reorder them. Okay, so now that we have our icons, let's use an instance of an icon and right under text Home. Select both and do Shift-A to make it an automatic layout. Let's make this a new component, and we can use component properties. Select the icon and create an instance swap property. So to change icons from here, this will allows me to easily change the icon later just by using this panel on the right. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to call this icon property. And here we add our preferred values, that is all the other 3 icons, which I recommend must be components because otherwise they won't be found. And so we create this property. Now let's do the same for text property. So let's create this one and leave the default value at home. Now it's time to create a new variant for the whole component from here and change the name of this property to active. And here the value will be no, and here it will be yes. Each time we use the values, so all we have to do is switch, interchange these two. And however, of course, I want my active version to be different, so to have more vibrant color. Let's create an instance of the home and create the automatic layout by having it selected and shifting to. We activate the fill with the color we prefer and adjust margins. The width should be equal to the width of the device frame. Now, the secret to making it responsive is to take my navigation element and change its space fill mode from hug to fill container. And now, when I add the other components by duplicating this with Ctrl-D, it will automatically distribute the spacing evenly. So I have my 4 elements, and now I can make this a component and change it to navigation bar. Now we finally use the properties. Since we used instance swap and text properties in our navigation element, I can select this element and change it to favorites and change the icon, so from home to the one that I want here, and then change the text from home to cart. So the same for this element by writing inbox, and with the latter by writing profile. To make this navbar prototyped now, though, we had to create instances of it, and each one of them will have a different icon active. So then changed in its property from no to yes, and link to home, the home screen, which will be just this one here, with on-click, navigate to, and instant. Then with the exact same ways, also the card can be activated, colored, then change in its property with its related page, which will be this one, and so also for other 2 remaining icons. So let's do a test with our preview and try changing from one selection to the other without any problems. Let's now try making a different version of this navbar, removing all the text. So we remove the text from the components, but keep everything else. Let's now create the structure of our navbar with our rectangle of the maximum width of the device frame and with a height or your discretion. I want to add in the center the bread symbol icon, which could be an active button or not. So now to add it, I have to create this hollow in the bar, and I do that thanks to an ellipse. We haven't actually seen this function here until now, which is Boolean groups, which are functions that make it possible to create new shapes through the union, subtraction, intersection, and exclusion of 2 or more elements. Let's take an example with 3 shapes, an ellipse, a rectangle, and a triangle. Assign them 3 different colors for better understanding, and we see that with union, they become one body with no more boundaries between them. With subtraction, the ellipse remains, so the parts where it was overlaid by the triangle and the rectangle have been removed. It is important to note that the order, therefore, influences who will be left and who will be subtracted from whom. Intersection now, as the name implies, will only give us the little piece where all 3 shapes overlap each other, while exclusion will remove the little pieces that overlap even between only 2 shapes and leave all the rest, which however has again become one body. Flatten selection, finally, here we also join the 3 bodies but leave their colors and outlines visible. Well, after these excursions, we can go and create our shape with the rectangle, to which we are going to round only the top 2 corners. If you remember from here, we can do that. And then we create an ellipse center it, and then select both shapes and click Subtraction. Now we can go in and insert our center icon, and then the other 4 icons, we arrange them in auto layouts in pairs of 2, and then arrange them carefully, thanks also to the guys. And then with everything selected and right click, we do group selection to keep everything together. And finally, as we did just now with the other navbar, we create a component, and then all instances to be changed in activation colors. Well, the last step of our prototype site is finished, and with that our video course on Figma. So while we test the site and the app, in the meantime, I confirm you that now you have all the tools to create amazing designs with your own style and taste. So I salute you. Thank you for watching so far. If you liked the video, please leave a like and a comment for any doubts or suggestions. And if you want, you can also join a supporter to help us create new videos. And you can find many other video courses about other programs on the channel. So you just have to find another one that suits you. And we look forward to seeing you again in a new video. Bye.